Hi, and welcome back to Thone's Hebrew Nibbles number 20. The Peril of Not Progressing, part 4 of 5. Building Blocks of Faith. Again, we've read the Hebrews 6, 1 through 8, and this all comes from that. Those doctrines not for the mature is another way of looking at it. Why is this in the Bible? Understanding first things first. The communications, difficult doctrine for beginners, ? Application to me. There are important doctrines of the faith which were never intended to be piled upon the immature Christian. These were never intended for elementary teachings. These are doctrines still somewhat debated today by theologians. Misunderstanding these doctrines lead to many teachings of heresy and splits between churches. Just for an example, there is the difference in ideas about baptism. Now, many churches have their own idea of baptism. Some generally agree, occasionally they don't, but everybody agrees that though baptism is important, it isn't something necessary for a person to be saved, to be baptized in the correct way. A person is already saved, and then they're baptized. The laying on of hands. This has to do with the ability to heal people, to in some way make people better by a given gift from God to a person or a group of people. And this is undoubtedly true in the times up until about 100 AD, that God intended, He intended this to be an important way of spreading His word by people. However, after about 100 AD, and we can sort of wave our hands a little bit there, the entire Bible was completed and completely written. So then mankind had the ability to read about these things rather than understanding miracles as being important to their belief. And some denominational churches, and rightly or wrongly, continue this tradition. And it isn't, what I believe on this particular area is one of those areas where theologians debate. And so I have my own beliefs, but I do not believe we should, if I do not believe that, I do not believe we should condemn people who do that, so long as they are fruitful and honest about what they're doing. And then finally, understanding of resurrection and final judgment, eternal judgment. End times prophecy, I guess, is the sort of the general category here. And there are many prophetic mentions of end times in the Bible, mostly in the Old Testament, but certainly some of them also in the New Testament, including the book of Revelation. These concepts, and I will call them concepts, are hotly debated, and and it all comes down to some phraseology within a certain prophecy that if you sort of take it absolutely literally, you come to one conclusion, and you take it somewhat symbolically and you come to a different conclusion, or some combination thereof. And considering that in Old Testament prophecy in particular, there are many cases where one particular prophecy relates to essentially the present or the near future, but then when read at a more symbolic level also refers to a time far in the future, and in a few cases even that time and another time even further in the future. And this is particularly true in Isaiah, the prophet Isaiah, and the prophet Daniel. Daniel has a lot to say about end times and so on. So understanding those things are important. God says, leave these difficult interpretations for mature believers. He doesn't say ignore them, but these are the things that you should carefully and diligently listen to your pastor or your minister or your priest or whatever you call the leader of the spirituality in your church, and then you can read yourself what they are saying, and you may or may not agree with it. And that's really the important thing about Christian freedom too, is we have a freedom to interpret ourselves even in these difficult ways, but we only get confused if we try to do this interpretation ourselves when we are young and inexperienced, or not necessarily even young, just not mature yet in our beliefs. My personal response: Lord, thank you for providing us with steps in doctrine so that we may learn in each level of maturity. That is, there's always something new to learn. I have read the Bible countless times. Well, not countless, several dozen times, let's say. And every time you suddenly say, oh, I didn't see that before. I didn't understand that way before. And it opens up a whole nother thought, whole nother line of thought that we can do with our Bible study and think about how wonderful God is. So with that, we'll see you next time.